Hey there, we're the Westlaw Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Skoskousbo.
Postseason for spring sports is underway.
Let's go.
We've got some big news coming up. Obviously, softball makes the big dance. That's awesome. And we will talk about them in a sec. Baseball coming down the stretch with a chance to go 500, which is huge for baseball. But we got to start off with lacrosse because their tournament has started. Northwestern, the number 3 seed, got their first round matchup against Michigan, who we saw again, which is great. Saw them on our home field, and similar outcome as far as Northwestern absolutely curb stomping the Wolverines. Maddie Taylor had a rough, not a rough, but a bit of a quiet end of the Big Ten tournament. Not so much this time.
I mean, no, I would call it rough, and I think that's the full context that's necessary here, right? I mean, Madison Taylor goes out against Michigan in the tournament and basically has the best game that a player has had in the NCAA tournament. 10 goals on 11 shots. It's basically as well as you can play, and the full context is that's after that absolutely miserable, and I don't mean miserable in terms of bad, I mean miserable in terms of miserable outing against Maryland, where every single thing was going wrong for her. Everything that could go wrong for her did go wrong in that game, and that includes the 2 yellows and finishing the game on the bench. And to experience that kind of futility in a game that the Cats ground out by a whisker, and then to respond with the greatest NCAA tournament performance any player has ever put up. I mean, that's why she's one of the best ever. It's like that's the kind of gear and ability to adjust that the very best have. She's just incredible.
Her 10 goals broke Selena Lasota's record of 9.
Yep.
So that's fun.
Yeah, the final score of this one was pretty similar to that game, John, that you and I attended. The difference being that Northwestern, in that game, Michigan kind of got out to a 3-0 lead. In this game, Northwestern just put their clamps on the game from the get-go. They scored the first 2 goals. They scored goals 4 and 5, and then Michigan got within 2, and then it was over. The Cats just took over, and it was never in doubt. It does feel like this is a real, I don't want to say personal, but a real tight rivalry. And even in that, I think Madison Taylor had 6 against Michigan the first time that, when they played back in April. But that was a really big Nikki Miles game. And I just this team looked like they were on a mission. An absolute mission in this first game of the NCAA tournament. So now they get.
Speaking of Nikki
Penn.
Miles,
yeah, they get Penn
on
Thursday, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And again, I feel like we've been in this position talking relative to this lacrosse team in the NCAA tournament before, and of course that's what happens when you have a team that just makes Final Four after Final Four, and. Again, I feel like we've said all these words before, but on one hand, you don't put the cart before the horse. This is a Penn team that just upset the number 6 Maryland team that, again, came within a whisker of beating Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. So Penn is playing really good lacrosse right now. And again, right, they're a very good team, very good Ivy League team. There's that Nikki Miles piece, right, where I'm sure they're going to be feeling something personal here. So this is obviously a really hard matchup with the Final Four on the line. It's just that beyond that, it's BC, North Carolina, and Florida. And you can just see it all shaping up. It's these 2 teams that have been the only 2 teams above Northwestern all season. And then the Florida team that every Northwestern fan, this is just, they're up there. And this is a team that Northwestern fans, I think, have become very familiar with in the lacrosse world. And those 4, it just looks like everyone is on a collision course. And, for the Cats, BC is who's likely going to be on deck here. BC's got to beat Yale and Northwestern's got to beat Penn. But that's where it looks like we're headed here. And
I'm gonna officially put Florida on upset alert because they barely beat Stanford. They only won by 1. You have Duke kind of surging, knocking off not exactly a regional rival Virginia, beating them like 17-9. Like they took it to the Cavaliers, and I don't know. Like I'm gonna put Florida on upset alert. But beyond that, yeah, the other two, North Carolina, BC, they're good. That looks like the collision course for sure.
And I think we've talked forever, and of course the Cats have Madison Taylor, and the Cats are the Cats. We know how good this team is capable of playing when everything's working. And basically, it's just like if one end of the spectrum is that Maryland Big Ten championship game, which the Cats still won, the other end, the sky's the limit, right? When everything's hitting for this team, and I say this Michigan game where you're getting that kind of transcendent performance from Madison Taylor is closer to that. It's funny, though. I mean, I think we were thinking about like last season, for example, and being like the wealth of riches on this Northwestern team is almost impossible to calculate. This year, North Carolina and Boston College are those two teams. Boston College, I think, has 8 All-Americans, and they're the number 2 ranked team in the nation, not the number 1. So, again, it's like this pecking order, this 1, 2, 3 has been really established throughout the season, but I think we all know that with another transcendent game like that from Madison Taylor, anything is possible against Boston College. But yeah, they got to get by Penn to get back there. This team belongs in the Final Four every year, and this is the game that's going to decide it.
Yeah, I mean, BC only beat Stony Brook by 3.
I know, I saw that. It looked surprisingly
10-7.
tight.
I mean, and North Carolina beat up on Clemson 18-9. We'll get back to Clemson here in a sec. Let's
yeah, right.
Eric's heart rate down a little bit. I know I said the buzzword there. Sorry, bud. And then Florida playing Duke, a Duke team that upset number 5 Virginia like 17-9.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what Scuzz was saying. They very much could play spoiler here.
Yeah, I mean, but Florida only beat Stanford by 1.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like we have these conversations every year, and I keep wanting to be like, don't look ahead, don't look ahead.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I'm sure this team is not doing that. But I mean, that's the thing is like, those are the trappings that come with making the Final Four every flipping year. And that's the thing. That's the standard that this Northwestern team holds itself to. And it's how we as Northwestern fans get caught looking ahead while the team never does, and that's how they always get to where they've gotten to. So I think they're going to be ready to rock. But it's early on Thursday though. I was just looking, 11 a.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m. on Thursday. So lunch break, watch some lacrosse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Thursday, and then the semis and the championship the following weekend. Again, one step at a time. Let's deal with Penn and go from there. If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients. No fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group. Compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation. And go Cats. Another team that is moving on in a situation where I think we all thought that softball might be on the bit of a bubble as their season was a little up and down. I mean, we talked a lot about how home cooking wasn't as sweet as it had been in years past. A little bit of struggle at the J, but for the Cats to go on the road to UCLA and do what they did,
Evanston West, they call it.
I mean, like this is quite literally what got them into the tournament.
100%.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
100%. Yep.
And it's not just a win. It's a historic win in the opening game, blanking UCLA, winning 8-0, run ruling UCLA, which I don't think had happened in over 10 years.
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
Coming back the next day and scoring another 8 runs in a losing effort. But again, I don't think anybody put up 8 runs in consecutive games at UCLA in a very long time.
Yeah. 12, 13 years, something like that.
And then coming back on Sunday and Lauren Boyd pitching this team to a series win on the road at UCLA. That just doesn't happen.
A UCLA team that had not lost at home. You were just about to say that. I took the words out of your mouth.
Yes.
I apologize.
They have two losses at home this season, both to Lauren Boyd. She was
there is no doubt Northwestern is the team that nobody wanted to see in the NCAA tournament. And now they are in that NCAA tournament. Look out.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing is Boyd, we know, like, has had her moments. And when we had Coach Drohan on, talked about how the Louisville game early in the season was kind of a real inflection point for this team and her performance in that game being like a really big moment, etc. But I don't think anyone came in and thought that she was going to travel out to Westwood and be the best pitcher in the nation that weekend, which was 100% what she was. And I was looking at a couple articles where, like, there were like a couple pitchers who threw no hitters in the SEC that weekend. And the general opinion was like, yeah, but Lauren Boyd went out to UCLA and beat UCLA twice. And just absolutely incredible. And also, too, and like wanted to mention this because it bears mentioning for people who've tracked this team over a while. Really, since that Nebraska series, Northwestern's been pouring in runs. The Big Ten tournament game against Purdue is the exception, and we can get to why in a second. But the offense has shown up. And now you can look and basically, if you fold in Bridget Donahue, who has been one of Northwestern's best players this season, been unreal at the hot corner. Her defense has been unbelievable, but she's hitting 297. And if you fold her in, the Cats have 5 players hitting 300 or better, and 4 hitting 343 or better. And that's Kelsey Nader, Grace Nito, Kaylee Avasado, and Izzy Kania. So the bats have shown up. Right.
That's the difference. And we talked about this early in the season. We talked about Ashley Miller's, incredible pitching last year. So many games that were 1-run games. Mm-hmm. That is the difference we have seen down the stretch for this Northwestern team this year is the bats showing up. To score 21 runs in 3 games against UCLA, that's awesome. And they got to face UCLA's kind of like second best pitcher in 2 of those games. They still put up 8 on their ace in the middle game. They're destroying the ball. They're hitting out of the park. You've had, whether it's Avasado or Robinson has had some absolute timely hits. Avery Garden showed up with a huge hit. Ayanna Lindsay, like they are positioning themselves to be a tremendous problem for the teams they're going to see in their regional next weekend.
100%. And this is where you have to factor in what happened against Purdue in the Big Ten tournament.
Let's talk about that. Go ahead.
That was a bummer.
Because so the important context here is it's a team, and these are the hard decisions that Coach Drohan has to make. These are the hard decisions and the hard ways you have to game things out. Where you have your ace, who's 14-4, that's Lauren Boyd. The rest of the Northwestern battery is basically 500, and you have Purdue, who hadn't won a Big Ten tournament game, and I forget how long. They threw their ace into this game, to the extent that they have an ace. They put her up into this game. And Northwestern did not start Lauren Boyd because Coach Drohan is like, it's tough. Like, you're thinking, we're playing really hot softball right now. We just came out of this big series against UCLA. We have to look at the possibility that we might make a real run in this tournament now. And if we're making a real run in this tournament and trying to win 3 or 4 games, Lauren Boyd can't be on the bump for all of those innings. So she rolled the dice and went with the rest of the battery and kind of gambled that the bats that had been so strong, including, like we said, like putting up like 7-8 a game against UCLA, would show up and carry the day, and it just didn't happen. The Purdue's ace had a really good match, a really good game. Yeah,
Purdue only scored 4 runs.
right.
That's our pitching did what it needed to do.
Right.
The bats just didn't show up that night.
Right. And I think that was the thing. It was the calculus was like, we need to be able to get by Purdue with the rest of the battery. Ideally, I think Boyd only came in because we were trailing. I think ideally she doesn't come in at all. And they're trying to play the long game. But Purdue went out and beat Ohio State. They went on a little bit of a run. They managed to win another one after this. But they beat Ohio State with a pitcher who I think was like 8-8 going into that game.
It's worth noting Purdue was playing at home. They were hosting this tournament. So that,
Good point.
There's a
For whatever that's
worth.
worth.
But it's worth a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Not having to travel and et cetera, et cetera. But then I don't think this wasn't on anyone's radar. And for those listening, please go find the video. We retweeted it. It's just awesome. You can tell how big of a deal this is to the team by their reaction. Just the outpouring of excitement and emotion. And again, they're in a regional. It's the Clemson regional. With
back to Clemson, huh?
Clemson, Kentucky, and then I don't even know South Carolina upstate.
It's SC upstate. Our old friend South Carolina upstate.
Yeah,
we've talked about.
We saw them last year. Last year we talked about it. We were like, "Who the hell are?"
Yeah, because I think I even mistook them for South Carolina for a split second, and then we're like, "Oh wait, what?" But so this is, Clemson's the 11 seed. This is a imminently winnable regional.
Right. Totally. And I think to your point too of no one wants to see Northwestern. It's this is not the Big Ten tournament. This is not Kate Drohan trying to match. This is it. This is the Clemson regional. Kentucky and Clemson are getting Lauren Boyd until the wheels fall off.
Yep.
That's what's happening. There ain't nothing beyond this point. It's all, the whole tank is getting emptied right here. So yeah, it's awesome. And again, the bats, people would say the bats have to wake up again. Really, that was just Purdue. The bats have been hot. Ask UCLA. And if they get hot, 100% we can win this regional.
Yeah, there's 8 Big Ten teams in the tournament this year.
It's wild.
That's amazing.
That's hot.
And and even if you exclude Oregon and UCLA, it's still 6.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Washington's in there as well.
Washington, yeah. So 3 of the newcomers, but even then, you got Nebraska, you got us, you got Ohio State, you got.
I'm just
Michigan.
To your point, I just
Michigan,
if I'm I just think if I'm Clemson and I'm hosting a regional, I'm I can't believe we drew a team that went to UCLA 2 weekends ago and took 2 of 3 and scored 21 runs against UCLA. That's what I'm thinking. I'm I can't believe we drew this team in our regional. And that's perfect. That's exactly where Northwestern wants to be.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to look ahead, but in the other side, you've got the Austin regional, Texas, Michigan, UCF, and Eastern Illinois. So, if we're able to put it together and just go down to Clemson and get out of the regional.
After Eastern Illinois knocks off Texas and it'll be an all Illinois.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Let's go.
So we went through this a couple years ago. What would it take for Northwestern to host? Does that
the super regional?
The super regional doesn't work that way, does it? The highest ranked team or whatever.
I don't.
I just remember,
if it's the highest ranked team,
or that I remember we went through this a couple years ago, and I think if the host teams don't, if neither host team wins the regional, then the super regional doesn't necessarily go to the remaining highest ranked team. It just kind of, I forget, it was when we played
Arizona State,
yeah, and it ended up going to Tempe, even though I just can't remember.
reasons.
Hey,
Yeah.
I again,
I just
that
can't remember where
worked.
that was.
That all worked out just fine. So you know what? If we get those rolls of the dice, I think this Northwestern team will go anywhere and play anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just got to get hot. I think one of the missing piece too, and I mean, and this is like the thing, is like, man, if Kansas Robinson if her bat gets hot, she's been the one where it's like this Northwestern team has accomplished a lot this year, and with Lauren Boyd, and that's with I think our presumed arguably best offensive player coming into the season, probably not having the year quite that she would like. But man, if she gets hot, like that's all it would take. That would be the difference right there. And with a hot Kansas and with the way some of these other bats and Lauren Boyd pitching her best, like absolutely, Northwestern can come out of this regional for sure.
Yeah, and that's this weekend as well. So we got lacrosse on Thursday. We got the softball this weekend. Very very exciting. Definitely will be keeping our eyes peeled. Also, to turn our attention to baseball. When we were on last, we talked about how Northwestern's in kind of spitting distance of 500, which would be the first time in a really long time that we've been there. We lost the series to Purdue. 1-1, lost 2, which was a bummer. But then we had the 3 games set against Ohio State. The 1 game at Wrigley, the 2 up in Evanston. The game at Wrigley, 12-2, just absolute drubbing. 7-inning run rule. So they didn't even get to play all 9 innings at Wrigley Field. I mean, come on.
Hey, as a podcast that is admittedly, let's say, ambivalent at best about football in Wrigley, Northwestern baseball should always play games in Wrigley. It's perfect. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is funny to see like walk-off winner and then look and then see that it was 12-2. Baseball's funny like that. Be like, yeah, you hit a walk-off hit to cement an ass kicking. We mapped out before this kind of path that Northwestern would kind of loose targets that they would have to hit to achieve that big winning record season. And they're a touch behind those targets. I mean, ideally they needed to win 1 more against Purdue and they needed to sweep that Ohio State series. They've put themselves in a position now where assuming they beat Valpo, to get to the Big Ten tournament at 500, they would need to do what softball did, which is go out to LA and take a series against an awesome UCLA team. And UCLA is, I don't think they're quite as good at baseball as they are at softball, but they're a very good baseball team. And you're going to have to go out on the road again. So it could kind of go either way. The other big thing that was like a big talking point from that Wrigley game is there is now a club that, as far as we know, contains 2 members, Jim Thorpe and Jack Lausch. And that's
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I know, right?
and that is 2 people who have played 2 sports at Wrigley Field. And I believe the accomplishment is separated by either 100 or 101 years. I think Thorpe did it playing. Was it for the Bears or was it for? It was for.
No, it was for a semi-pro or.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's probably pre-Bears, even as old as that franchise is. And then he was also playing for some baseball team too. But in any case, he's done it twice. I think sometime in like 1924-ish. So over 100 years later, Jack Lausch repeats the feat in the same year, which is pretty incredible. I mean, I can only imagine, what he's thinking, and like having been able to go into that building, and really in the span of a couple of months, twice in 2 sports is a pretty incredible accomplishment.
Is it the Chicago Cardinals? Did they play at Wrigley?
Maybe that's what it was.
Did they?
We were
that, or the Rock Island Independence.
That could have been what I feel bad because we were sent this information, so I'm going to see if I can look it up on the fly right now. Let me see. We're going to look at this in real time. We're going to see if we can find it. I'm going to look it up right here. Rock Island Independence, and then played for National League teams in the late 1910s.
Yeah, he played for the Giants, the Reds, and the Boston Braves. So, I mean, he certainly would have played at Wrigley multiple times in baseball.
Shouts to Tyler Johnson for giving us that information. But again, I believe, it's Jim Thorpe and Jack Lausch. That's your club, separated by 100 years. Same accomplishment.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So, before we go, there's a little bit of football news as we're getting to the end of the spring calendar. We're in mid-May. Before you know it, the Phil Steele magazine will be gracing our mailboxes. We'll be starting to look at the 2025 college football season. There's some rumblings that we might be getting some recruiting news some point in the near future. Louis Vicaire and Matt Shelton have been teasing it over on Wildcat Report that we've got some incoming recruit commitments, which would be really, really cool. One guy did announce his commitment, big offensive lineman out of Nebraska. That's great. 3-star offensive lineman. I don't know too much more about him other than he's massive. 6'8", 270,
yep.
And that's he still has yet another year of high school to bulk up before he makes it to Evanston.
No, and I'm looking no Nebraska offer, but he visited Iowa State 4 times and held an Iowa State offer, Minnesota offer, Texas Tech offer. To pull a enormous lineman out of corn country who has that Iowa State offer and has visited that school a ton of times, again, that's a good pull. I think
there's a little bit of Man Bear Pete about this young dude, Leighton Burback. Leighton.
Yeah, hey, let's do it. And again, it's so funny. I feel like we've pulled in a couple of these linemen through the portal recently, but these impossibly tall offensive linemen, all of a sudden the Northwestern offensive line is just stacked with guys that are 6'8", 6'9". Amazing. So yeah, the potential to bulk up and turn something. But yeah, again, by the time this pod airs, I mean, this could be, I think we're all waiting. I think there's a flood of commits that may be coming in here. So hope we'll all stand by for some good news.
We're hearing there might be as many as 5 more. But again, we will wait and see as far as, the official announcements coming out, and follow our socials for more chatter on that. If it all happens between the time we push pause or time we push stop on the recording and by the time I get this thing edited and posted, I'm sure we'll have at least 3 of those guys will have announced. So that's just always our luck as we record this thing. But yeah, I mean, football is coming. Definitely excited for that. We'll ramp up our summer coverage about a month and a half from now. But we're not done. We're definitely not going anywhere. We still have the postseason. We've got softball. We've got lacrosse. We'll follow the baseball through the end of the regular season into the postseason. So we're not going anywhere. Don't worry.
Well, hey, let's not go too fast. We got one last little football thing, and that is that Northwestern is reportedly, I don't think this has been officially announced yet, but it's reported that they're going to be hiring a gentleman by the name of Christian Sarkisian as the new general manager of Northwestern football. Most schools are hiring for this role now. This effectively is a role to help with roster management and NIL and all those other sorts of things. But
salary cap is one.
Salary cap, yep.
I mean, we're talking salary cap in college here, folks.
Yep.
Christian is coming to Northwestern from the Cincinnati Bengals, where he has been a scout for the last 3 years, for the last 7 years, and I happened to find an article on the Bengals website from 2022 talking about Christian, and there's a couple of quotes in here that I just love because I think it really paints a picture of the type of dude that is coming in to lead Northwestern. So They talk about Sarkisian, quote, is already as grizzled as his hometown of Chicago, even though he's not quite 30. So he's from Chicago originally. We believe from the North Shore, although I haven't been able to validate that. He interned, so he was an assistant director of player personnel at Northwestern previously, and then interned for 2 NFL teams before working with National Football Scouting, and then he joined the Bengals back in 2018. And probably most interesting is that, so Christian went to Northwestern. His grandfather, Alex Sarkisian, was not only on the Northwestern Rose Bowl team in 1949, but played center and linebacker and captained both sides of the ball. And they describe Christian as a guy who is Northwestern all the way, bleeds purple through and through, and that is quite true. This is really exciting. Really excited to see how he fits into the broader football apparatus and what he can bring to the program as we enter this brave new world.
I was going to say, it's like a perfect match of, I think, things people have talked about before, which is embracing all of the changes that are coming with this sport, but also doing it the Northwestern way. And this is a classic example of that.
That's a great call, John.
This is Northwestern finding a way to bring in the exact kind of new experts you're going to need, and someone with pro chops. I think someone who's really thought of as like a really, great young mind in the game who also has these deep Northwestern connections. So yeah, absolutely. It's a great hire. And one other thing I'll mention, like one last little piece of football. This is props to Matt Shelton for pointing this out. But all of the Northwestern football coaches posed for a photo in the beautifully rapidly rising structure that is the new Ryan Field. I mean, it's taking shape. Jesse Marks is putting up photos all the time, and it's so cool. This thing is really starting to take shape, and you can start to see the bones of it. But the football coaching staff posed for a photo in hard hats in the construction site, and Matt pointed out that in the case of Tim McGarrigle, this is his second construction-themed photo shoot. calling back to the legendary Northwestern Football 2005 calendar shoot where he is holding a chainsaw. And someone really should have, it just seems like a missed opportunity. I know chainsaws aren't generally construction site material, but someone really needed to locate a chainsaw. I just want this exact same photo with no one else holding anything except Tim McGarrigle's holding a chainsaw as an inside joke to all of us who love that photo. So I'm just saying, football coaching staff, no one's keeping you from going back and doing it again. Make Tim go back there with a chainsaw.
Love it. Any last words before we go?
Go Lax, go softball. Let's go. Thursday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just remember, bright and early Thursday morning, 11 a.m. ESPNU. So remember, like Cats against Penn, bright and early. This is going to roll right into softball and a full weekend of Northwestern sports. But Lax gets started really early. So just remember, set your alarms, turn on ESPNU Thursday morning. Let's get at it.
Take an early lunch. If you're working. Smuggle that, get that stream going on your phone at your desk.
Hey,
there's lots of ways to make that happen.
If you're unfortunate, or fortunate enough, depending on how you feel, to live in the Eastern time zone like me, it is your lunch.
There you go.
Take a long lunch, y'all.
Hey, I'm just saying, it's early in the morning. It's prime time in the evening for certain unnamed popes who may or may not have had photos taken next to people in Northwestern apparel and may or may not be interested in what happens with Northwestern lacrosse. Who's to say is my point.
I was wondering if you were going to get a Pope reference in this one. That's great.
I was trying to come up with a little Pope related piece for my intro, but I couldn't put the pieces together.
No worries. There's plenty of time. So with that, we'll go ahead and leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments and questions. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, all at Westlaw Pirates. You can always email us, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics. Look for us in the west side of Ryan Field flying the red pirate flag. because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Scasbo, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.